Good morning, everyone, and welcome to On the Wrong Leads presents Saratoga Daily. I am Mark, and we're going to be talking a little bit of the August 28th Saratoga card, Friday card, with some pretty good races. We've seen the 5th and the 10th are both off the turf now. And you always run into situations with these types of races where when they come off the turf, people still cap them like turf races. They cap those races as if they've done them the night before. They don't update their handicapping, and you get into these situations where sometimes you get overlays on some pretty logical horses. So, before I go too deep into the weeds talking about this card, let's talk about a couple things off the, somewhat handicapping related. First thing is, I had seen some comments in some of the videos I had done before, and there were sort of two lines of thinking in some of the comments, and I wanted to sort of address it. The part that I found very, very productive is I had a couple people on Wednesday mention that the 9 horse in the last race, which was one a number of us had liked on Discord, was something that they had added to their play. They wouldn't have had that horse otherwise, and they hit a nice pick 3 because they added that horse. I also saw some other people who were taking the look of, well, your ticket was not successful, therefore the exercise of putting your ticket up and making it public was not successful. I've never put these up because I wanted to be a tout, or I wanted to be, oh, look at this guy handing out free plays that pay tons of money. I've always wanted these to be educational. I wanted you to be able to sit here, watch my content, and go, I learned something. Or I saw a race perspective differently. Somebody has a little bit of local knowledge that they added. Those types of things. I didn't want this to be me being a tout or me being a public handicapper or anything along those lines. And I do have a lot of frustration with a lot of public handicappers out there, because when they cap a race, you watch, the Saratoga Live. Oh, hey, I like these 4 horses. Well, how much do you like them? How are you creating a ticket with your opinions? They don't tell you that. They tell you, I like these 4 horses. Well, there's a big difference liking 4 horses in a 4-horse field and liking 4 horses in a 12-horse field. That context is very important, and they're just not giving it to you. So I'm trying to put out there, here's a way to approach a wager, here's a way to be a little smarter than a caveman, and here's a way to learn a little something new about an approach to handicapping. So the success of the wager itself is not my utmost importance. For me, it's more you become a better handicapper, you learn a little something, and you have a good, a better handicapping experience. So with that little bit of a rant out of the way, if you are a Discord person, there's a link to Discord in the description. Hop on. We have it was initially a winners take all tournament, $55 buy-in today for the Friday Saratoga card. It is a lockdown, so you'll have a little bit of time. Maybe you'll have an hour to get your picks in by the time this gets posted. But prize pool's over $500. I think it plays top 3 right now. There are some good tournament players in there, but if you have some contrarian opinions, you can throw them out and do quite well. So let's talk about what happened yesterday, and I'll try to keep this fairly brief. We had a ton of rain. Everything got really wet down, and I think all the races came off the turf. And a number of us had very good days because, again, those people handicapping for on the turf, and they refused to change their handicapping. The day after so there are thunderstorms in the forecast for Saratoga later on in the card. So I would watch the radar, watch the weather. If you're on Discord, I try to keep a weather update going of where the storms are and anticipated rain time. But days after a lot of rain at Saratoga, the dirt tends to become extremely speed favoring. I don't want to call it a railroad track or a carousel, but those cheap speed, early speed type horses, that speed tends to carry very well. And the turf, to me, becomes a little less cheap speed favoring, but there's still kickback on turf. So you want those horses that are more forwardly placed on the turf. It's probably a little bit of a closer negative on the turf. So I picked a sequence where I thought I could take advantage of some of my Saratoga knowledge, and I'm going to use the last 3 here. And I'm going to play with pick 3, 8, 9, and 10th races. And also, some people have asked why I always do pick threes. Pick threes just fit in this format nice. I can't explain a pick four or pick five where I might have 20 tickets in 10 minutes and keep people entertained. So I've kind of chosen the pick three. It's a nice way to slam things, and the return on investment's very good, and it just seems to fit this format nicely. So let's start in the 8th. 7 furlong allowance. I'm going to single the 2 Irish Front here. Irish Front is the speed of the speed here. Horse is 1 for 2 at Saratoga. Ran last summer here as a 2-year-old, and then took a really extended absence, obviously, almost a year. Came back, fired first time out for the Pletcher Barn. Irad stays here. This is your speed of your speed. Stretching out to 7 furlongs, but I don't think should be a problem. Pedigree seems to think that should be okay. The horse was really impressive last time out, and is pretty squarely the horse to beat. There are a couple of other players in here. The logical one would be somebody like Blind Willie McTell, the 4, who I don't think is as fast early and hasn't really shown great form as of late. They've gotten down to probably the appropriate level, but this one I think is just a step behind the 2. And also somebody like Wild Magdalena de Oro, the 6 horse on the outside, but again a horse that maybe those optional 16 and optional 20 races a few back seem to do well. He's kind of stepped up in class and hasn't really been that good since doing so. And Mark Cassie's 1 for 33 on the meet, so I'm okay tossing a 3% trainer. The Pletcher Irad combo has been deadly this meet. Obviously you can see they're hitting at 31% over the past year, and I think this one is just really primed, and it's the sort of horse I want. I didn't want to get didn't want to overthink in here. And Breeze and Little Insider knowledge that speed may carry. So even if that horse is a little short, which could be an argument you would make, the horse got pretty loose, or well, kind of accelerated away late. So you wouldn't. I don't want to say loose speed, but this is one that I think that speed carries better if you're assuming that because there obviously is a step up in class here. You're hoping this one gets loose, and you're hoping this one gets real confident on the front end, and that speed carries home, which it tends to on days after a rain. So in the 9th race, this is the Lake George, and I have on a little bit of a contrarian play here. Sweet Melania is going to take a ton of money in here. And it's just the fact that, well, first off, she's an every other type. She's the type of horse that doesn't win back-to-back races. If you look at here, back in her history, she broke her maiden, then was second in front by a neck in the P.G. Johnson, came out in the Jesselman and won, then hopped into the Breeders' Cup Philly Turf and was 3rd by a length and a half. Now, you can make an argument that as she's gotten against harder company, she's sort of flopped, and this is a G3. This should be easier company again. Maybe she can win 2 back-to-back. I think she's going to be forwardly placed. She should have some company in here on the front end. Who else was the speed that was in here? Cat's Pajamas has shown a bunch of speed as well. Sugar Fix can be forwardly placed. I think there's a few other speeds in here, and I want to try to get around her. Also, I've noticed if you're a works person, the works have sort of tailed off since that last race. She's not been working as well in the morning. Maybe I'm fishing for straws, fishing here a little bit. I did use her as a B. I do want her involved. The horses that were interesting to me were, I think it's Micheline is how you would say it. I'm assuming she's a Godolphin horse, so they want the French pronunciation. Out of the Stidham Barn, her figures fit really well here, and if you're a time form person on the turf, her figures are better than Sweet Melania's. And she's the type that she needs a little bit of a pace setup, but she can be fairly forwardly placed. She doesn't, need the lead, but she's not going to be coming from a mile and a half out of it. I would think that her run style is something Rosario is perfect for. He can sit that trip, find some cover, sprint home late. The other A horse that I had in here was the 5, My Sassy Sarah. This one, if you are a buyer of speed figure person, you're going to scratch your head and say, why on earth are you using this horse? 12-1, Eric Cancel, makes not a lot of sense. If you are a Brisnet speed figure person, that last race was freakish. This horse has the I think best or the second best Briz last out speed figure. Speed figure here is very competitive. This one has the pedigree that makes you think that a mile might be the distance. And you're also seeing a little bit of dirtied up form. Most people look at last three and they'll say, oh geez, at 34, oh okay, this horse just kind of freaked out against an easy company or easy field or something. That was a race on the Saratoga turf. Horse did show you that she can pass other horses. She gets outside draw here with Cancel. Cancel isn't my favorite jock, but he's usable. He's not somebody that I go, oh, Cancel's on there, I have to toss this horse. This is probably a one-run type. He can sit that forwardly placed trip, which is going to be more comfortable to him. He needs to get her clear, make one run. I think she's the type that moves forward. I think this is the distance, and I'm willing, and there aren't flashy connections. It's Michelle Nevin. Eric Cancel, if you look down here at the stats, is one of her go-to jocks. She does very well when Cancel's up, but this is one that I think it's a little sneaky because the connections, it's not going to draw money. It's not like Jose lands here and takes a ton. This is a horse that I think is super sort of interesting, and as a bit of a price. The other horse in here I like is the 3, who is I think you say Wits. Wits is a horse that Jose gets off. Obviously, Liscano gets on. To me, that's not really a massive downgrade or anything. Horse is 1-for-1 across the Saratoga turf, and is one that's just a logical player in here. It wouldn't surprise me if the horse wins at all. And again, needs probably a little bit of pace setup. Can be slightly off. This may be water that's a little too deep. We've seen a couple failed attempts at the graded stakes level, but I'm willing to give this one another shot for a horse that isn't one that, or is one that the figures fit and probably just needs that right trip. And Liscano getting up to me again. I think a lot of people would say, oh, Jose got off. Liscano to me is not that much worse than Jose. Although he does not get the mounts that Jose gets, which I think is probably why the statistics are different. In the 10th race, this is a race that was originally carded on turf, and I love playing these because people have capped this, and they will have picked out all of these turf horses that don't want to run on dirt. So how I ended up here, there are a couple logical players. There are 2 MTOs to draw, and Madam Deputy, the Rudy Rodriguez with Sayas up, super logical. Obviously this is a dirt horse, well, has some turf pedigree, but this one was entered as an MTO. I trust Rudy is spotting this one. He's very good at being tactical about putting these horses in spots where they're going to catch these rained off races. I remember for 3 or 4 years in a row he had one horse that just loved to run in the slop, and every day it looked like there'd be rain, this horse was entered, and the horse would win 3 or so races a year at Saratoga on days that it came off. The other one in here, I was thinking there's another MTO. The other one in here that's super short on the morning line is this 8. Can you do the twist? Archibald Kinsley Jr.'s up. Horse has got pretty good figures last out, and has sort of not a turf pedigree, even though they ran this one first time on turf. So it would make you think that they're making the surface switch. Obviously it was a turf race, but this one seems to have a pedigree that you go, oh, this one should be able to run on either surface. I would imagine this horse, 8 to 5 on the morning line, probably still takes a lot of money, probably is still super usable. The other horse in here that's interesting, Spin Your Partner, Orlando Delacroix. Obviously, Arad is off his mounts today, but to me it's, and I don't know who is up on the 7 yet, but I'm super interested when I see that Arad gets up for smaller connections. I don't think Arad being there is the reason the horse moves up. I think Arad being there implies that the horse is live, and so I'm less concerned with it being Arad versus not Arad. What's more interesting to me is that a good jockey has said this horse is probably live by showing up there. So somebody else being there doesn't really bother me. I'm assuming this horse is live. Again, this is one of those could go either way pedigrees, but I want sort of the 5, the 7, and the 8 as my A's in here. There are a lot of horses in this race, like the 6. I was super interested to bet this 6 if this was a turf race, because this is what I refer to as a stealth drop. You see a horse that was running maiden special weight company gets dropped down to the maiden 40 level, which we're at today, but this race was rained off. And what that, so for me, this is, a lot of people would ignore that, but this is actually first off the drop on the proper surface. I want no part of this horse today, though, because this horse, to me, screams turf horse, and has shown that it doesn't want to run, a number of starts back here, and even that last out is shown it's just not a dirt horse, and I just don't think this one is good enough to get it done in here today. And I had 2 C's in here. I think I just ended up with the 2 when I played this. Yeah, I just did. Both the 3 and the 4 in here are a little interesting to me, and they're going to both be absolute bombs, and so I'm going to use them as C's. Low percentage connections on both of them, but both of these horses had multiple starts on turf, and when I look at both of their pedigrees, I go, those are both dirt horses. Why were they starting them on turf? I don't know why. Midnight Loot to me is a really good dirt influence, albeit they tend to be a little bit fragile. Overanalyze, again, another really big dirt influence. So sometimes you see these horses where, okay, they were trying them, and obviously the 3 is getting a massive drop coming out of maiden special weight company, and the 4 is probably getting back on the proper surface. Both of them didn't do much running in their last, as Caleb would say, they ran up the track in their last 2 outs, or 1 or 2 outs, respectively. But they're horses that I think maybe are getting the right surface here and are sort of interesting. So I use them both as C's. So I did my fictitious $100 play here, singling in the first leg, 4 deep, and then I have a 3 and 2. I will put up the full play. I've talked enough for today. I will put it up in the description, so hop down in there and take a look. Hopefully I can actually get one of these home to get the my YouTube troll off my back. But until next time, good luck at the races.